Alright, I want to do a little bit of a video here on shrinking and stretching metal. And anytime you're doing body work and you want to put a curve in something, you can accomplish it several different ways. Some people heat it up and bend it. When you're using sheet metal, this happens to be 18 gauge sheet metal. And if I want to curve this, so where would I use this application? Well, when I built the drip rails on the truck, I had to curve the metal to shape the back end of the truck to recreate the drip rail. So I used a shrinker and stretcher. Well, here's the principle. If I want this to curve this way, this side's got to get smaller, and this side's got to get bigger. So if I shrink this metal, meaning it's going to grab it and squeeze it in here, that's going to force this piece of metal to bend. And so I'll show you here. Get on this side so you can see it. So by shrinking this side, it's going to cause this metal to bend. So I stick it in the shrinker there. Lugs is going to help me out. And I start pulling it. Now if you watch, you'll see that metal is starting to curve around because I'm shrinking the inside. And I know when I first got started with this, I didn't really understand how to use a shrinker stretcher. I've got some high-end ones, but this is, I picked these up at Harbor Freight because I wanted to show you, you don't have to have $20,000 tools to get things accomplished. So this is me stretching, or I'm sorry, shrinking this metal around. And you can see I've got a pretty good bend going there. I'm shrinking the inside. I'm squeezing this in. What this does is it's got teeth on it, and when I push down, it grabs the metal and it pulls it together. So I can get this nice. Now notice I'm not sticking this whole piece in. I don't want to shrink this whole piece. I'm just shrinking this edge. So I'm putting it in just on the edge, and I'm bending that around. That's shrinking metal. That's what that means. So we just went from straight to a nice curve. Now conversely, I mount them both because I can just turn it around, and now I want to stretch. So if I shrink here, and now, so here I did shrinking here on this line. If I go on the same line and I stretch, you're going to see the metal's going to curve that way. So if I put it in here and I start stretching it, you're going to see this S form. And again, it does it a little bit at a time. I'm pushing that metal out. This is grabbing it and pushing the metal out now. So it's coming down like that, and it's spreading the metal. And this may be basic for some of you, but I'm sure there's people out there that have never used a shrinker stretcher, and you can pick these up fairly cheap at Harbor Freight. And for this 18 gauge, so you can see what I'm accomplishing there. So this is stretching that. Now if I want to get a real tight radius, you see how this metal here is warping? It's because it's forcing that in, and there's no place for it to go. So to address this wave, I can spin this around, and I can simply shrink that wave out. I'll take the metal, I'm going to run it through, and I'm going to pull that wave out, because now I'm forcing the metal together. So now you can see I've shrunk that wave out of it because I pulled the metal. So when I'm doing this, I will typically start with the shrinking edge. So like this one here, I shrunk there. I actually don't know if shrunk's a word. But now I'm going to stretch the outside edge and you'll see what happens. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I'm putting more of a curve into this metal. So that's basically using a shrinker and stretcher to take what started as a flat piece of metal and being able to bend it to the shape that you need. Now the next video, I'll talk about how do you get these shrink and stretching marks out of your metal.